Hello everyone, it's time for Good Week Israel, where we will give you ILTV's latest positive highlights. So get ready to smile, because coming up, Israeli athletes win big on the world stage. We discover the best hidden gems in Israeli cooking and restaurants, and finally, an ancient mystery possibly solved. See what all the excitement is about at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Israeli athletes killing it on the world stage, starting with Israeli rhythmic gymnast Linoy Ashram, who won gold at the all-around individual event at the Gymnastics World Cup in Bulgaria, one of 4 World Cup events before the 2021 Olympics, and a qualifier for the Olympics as well. Competing in the hoop, ball, and clubs and ribbons categories, the 21-year-old Ashram then also picked up a second gold and a bronze medal for individual challenges. But Ashram is no stranger to top marks on the world stage, having continued to work tirelessly with her trainer both before and after winning gold in Ukraine last year, becoming the first Israeli-European all-around champion in the process. Seeing clearly is something that many of us unfortunately take for granted. But one Israeli company is trying to change the way that we heal vision problems. Revital Vision developed a unique method to fix severe eyesight problems with non-invasive and low-risk technology. Emmanuel Kadosh with the story.
Throughout our lives, there are a handful of things that we take for granted. One of the main ones being our ability to physically see. Whether you're aware of it or not, our ability to see clearly is something that some people only dream of.
We developed a unique vision training software that stimulates the brain visual cortex. We're actually very unique. While the entire eye care industry focus on correcting the anatomy of the eye or bending lights, they focus on the optics. We are actually improving the back end of the visual system. We improve the processor of the vision, the brain, on how the brain interprets or processes the visual information that transmitted from the eye.
Revital Vision's breakthrough technology is the only clinically proven and FDA-approved therapy with efficiency claim for improving vision in adult amblyopia.
First comes the diagnosis. We need to make sure that the patient is suitable for the therapy program. So the original development was to treat adult amblyopia. Amblyopia, or lazy eye, is a disease where the brains fail to process vision from one eye and favor the other eye. With our technology, we treat patients beyond the age of 9, when the disease is considered untreatable.
Most eye diseases and low vision impairments are approached from a purely optic perspective, treating solely the eyes and therefore resulting in partial success only. Revital Vision is doing things completely different.
Later, we try to apply the same technology on patients that they actually have pathology in the eye. So they suffer from different eye diseases. And we saw that if they have sufficient vision to start with, so they could see the visual stimulation, we can improve most patients' vision. So beyond surgery, optical correction, or medication, we can further improve vision by treating the brain. The success rate is about 85% of our patients improves 2.5 lines on the visual acuity chart, which is very significant because every line represents about 10% vision. Patients will experience significant improvement in their vision and life quality. We have those, we don't have 100% results, so for those patients who do not improve, we actually guarantee success. So we are now fundraising through PeopleBiz, which is a crowdfunding platform. Our goal is to become a standard care for the treatment of different eye disease and visual impairments in the eye care industry.
All right, now an exciting new discovery. Israel's Antiquities Authority unveiling a new potential explanation for an ancient Christian mystery.
Welcome to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Controlled by the Armenian Orthodox Church, this is among the most sacred places in all of Christianity, believed to be the final resting place of Jesus Christ. But aside from Jesus, the church housing another marvel that has had researchers scratching their heads for years. thousands upon thousands of crosses carved into the walls of one of the chapels in the church, the Chapel of St. Helena.
This unique phenomenon always baffles us. Is it graffiti of the pilgrims or rather something else? Now we got an opportunity, a rare opportunity to answer on this question when the Armenians renovate their holy part in the church, the Chapel of St. Helena.
The chapel, opening to renovations in 2018, invited the Antiquities Authority and the Hadassah Academic College of Jerusalem to analyze these mysterious carvings. And after finding these unique crosses on the walls, the archaeological researchers immediately began deciphering them using advanced optical techniques.
If one could spend all the time in the world looking at these objects in situ, it would be very nice, but one can't, especially in a place where there are limitations on visiting and limitations of access. Therefore, by creating this kind of image, you can then later on, back in the studio or in your office, you can basically relight the object any way you wish and at any level of detail, and apply these various filters in order to try and pull out as much as possible information about the object itself.
And the result? Well, after a painstaking investigation, graffiti was definitely ruled out.
What we saw with the optical machinery, that we map all the crosses inside them, and we saw that all of them have the same depths and even the marking of the mason. So if you look at these thousands of crosses, I can say, very careful, because we are only in the beginning of the research, that maybe 2 or 3 hand artists made these crosses. It's not a pilgrim, only 3 hand of the artist. So it's not a graffiti. It's something more organized of the church.
So if not graffiti, then what is it? IAA officials finally think they have the answer. Soundbite 3, 2, 1. Alyssa Hugel, ILTV.
Let's say that you are an Armenian pilgrim who visits the Chapel of Helena, the Holy Sepulchre. So you pay something to the priest, you pay something to this special artist, and he carved for you, for the benefit of your soul and your relative souls, he carved for you a special cross in the most sacred place for Christianity on earth. And that's it. This is, for our point of view, the explanation of this unique phenomenon.
Next, we discover the best hidden gems in Israeli cooking and restaurants. Emmanuel Kadosh traveled to Mitzpe Ramon, where an Israeli chef has decided to take a step away from the Tel Aviv restaurant scene in favor of growing her own foods and hosting smaller, more intimate, and more customizable meals. Take a look.
Welcome to Yalla, Let's Eat, where we travel around Israel to discover the country's hidden culinary gems. From the bustling city of Tel Aviv to the serene deserts of the south, we're going to explore the country through our stomachs. So, let's get started.
I'm not trying to make something look like or taste like. Taking the fruit or the vegetable and creating new flavors that I myself am also surprised by.
If you're looking for an extremely unique, one-of-a-kind culinary experience in the heart of Tel Aviv, you've arrived at the right place. Opa is one of the most talked about restaurants in the city, and we're about to meet the team behind it. So yalla, let's eat. Sherelle and her twin sister Sharon co-own Opa and work alongside one another at the restaurant. Sherelle doing the cooking and creating, while Sharon runs the restaurant outside of the kitchen.
We're at Opa, my restaurant, my baby, the love of my life. I don't know if I'm a chef. I think maybe more of an artist, I'd like to call myself. All of my childhood memories are based on food, so I think it was something that was embedded in me. Starting cooking, I think it was when I was 12. My mother really gave me a free hand in the kitchen, which helped me a lot. My family owned a restaurant, so I was exposed to restaurants since I was a young child. And I fell in love with working in the kitchen. I liked the energy, the high vibes.
When you first walk into Opa, you instantly feel the energetic vibe of the restaurant. It's a small venue, but extremely well lit and obviously beautifully designed, and it actually only seats a limited amount of people per night.
The aesthetics of everything, to the organizing the pantry and the refrigerator and the vegetables, it's super important, because in the end of the day, it's what you see is like what you eat first. And also, I think as time goes by, I look at plating like in the beginning of Opa and now, and I'm really embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, I plated that, it's so ugly. Before you open a restaurant or anything like that, you have to find something in you that's different than other people. And when I found the art of cooking with vegetables and fruits, I was like, okay, I have that. And one thing led to another, and here we are, you know. In the culinary world, we are seeing more chefs cooking with fruit and vegetables, but I don't think that they have ever had the place to be the stars of a plate without to do with veganism or vegetarian. This is part of it, but it's not the main idea. We have a lot of different experiments, and then when I'm coming to work with a new dish, so I just go to our pantry, and there's different kinds of, I call them bases. And that's where a lot of my inspiration comes. And sometimes it's my mood, my feelings. I cook my feelings out. Really.
Eating plant-based is much more than just a trend. It's a way of life that many people have come to learn and love.
Unfortunately, most of our food that we consume these days is industrialized in a way that is so disrespectful to humans, to the environment, to basically anything. I feel that that's my calling. That's what I'm supposed to do in this world, is show how beautiful the plant kingdom is and how much good we can make or create from it. The cooks, myself, we all have to be in the highest spirits, because we generate into people's body, which is I think one of the most miraculous things about cooking. So I would like them to enjoy the ride, because it is different, it is unique. I hope really that people will wake up and change the way they eat.
All right, everyone, who's ready? Yalla, let's eat.
Always wondering how you can keep that engaged feeling in your day-to-day life? How do some people always live life to the fullest while others are less focused? Well, Rabbi Farhi from kosher.com is here with life lessons on how to help you reach that same level of engagement.
You know how sometimes you just feel alive? And there are other times where you're kind of just messing about and you just don't feel plugged in? What's the difference? And how do we always feel like we are plugged into life? Every bit of Torah is meant to communicate to us life's lessons. One of the most powerful ones for me is the story of Yosef and his brothers. We'll deal perhaps with them another time, but one item I'd like to draw an intense focus on. Yosef is sold. His life has fallen apart. He's lost his father, he's lost his mother, he's lost his brothers, he's lost his family, and he finds himself as a slave in the house of Potiphar. With hard work, he eventually gets recognized and promoted to the top of the heap, in charge of the whole household. But very quickly, tide turns again, and he's thrown into a pit in jail. One day, the two people, the royal baker and the royal butler, walk into the cell block, and they are devastated. Yosef asks them if there's anything he can do to alleviate their suffering. And the first one turns to him and says, you know, I had a dream last night and I just can't figure out what it means, what it represents, and it's on my mind. Yosef says, I don't know maybe what it is, but perhaps God will give me the inspiration to share with you a way forward. The man tells him about the fact that he's sitting there looking at the vines of Pharaoh, 3 specific clusters on the vine. He squeezes the vines into the cup and eventually serves it to Pharaoh once again. But I don't know what it means. Joseph says the 3 clusters represent 3 days. And after those 3 days pass, you will be reinstated to your job. The royal butler is overjoyed. Hearing this, the royal baker steps in and says, well, what about me? I've had a very similar dream. My dream was about me standing there with 3 baskets on my head, and at the top basket filled with all the goodies that Pharaoh's house has to offer. Birds swooping in, eating from the top basket. Quite idyllic, actually. Yosef, unfortunately, doesn't have the same smile on his face. He says, your 3 baskets, I'm sorry to say, represent 3 days. Baker leans in. This is going good, exactly the same as his friend. And then Joseph drops the bombshell. After 3 days, the king is going to lift your head from your body and you will hang. And the birds of prey that circle overhead will eat from your body. The man is stunned. There's a very sharp question here that needs to be asked. The Talmud tells us that every dream follows its interpretation. And if one interprets their dreams for the good, then they will portend good. And God forbid the opposite, it won't turn out so well. So Joseph has in his hands the power of interpretation. And of all people in the world, Joseph more than any should understand the challenges associated with correctly or positively interpreting dreams. After all, the predicament he was in the moment was because of the way his brothers interpreted his dreams. Why does he give this man such a bad interpretation? The Dubna Maggid gives a fascinating answer by way of a story. A king offers a wonderful opportunity for all the artists of his kingdom. He asks anyone who can to come and paint their very best painting. And if their painting is exactly lifelike, then they will get a handsome reward. Painting after painting comes forward, each artist hopeful that they will win the prize, that their depiction will be completely lifelike. But person after person walks away with their hopes dashed because the crowd each time finds something that doesn't seem exactly right. The lighting in this one, the shadows in this one, the apple in that one, the pear in the third. Each painting has something in it which is not exactly true to life, true to scale. Finally, the last painter steps forward. He's got a magnificent piece of a man standing, holding, looking at the most sumptuous, delicious-looking apple. Everyone oohs and ahs, and they can't believe that someone is so talented to have captured every lifelike detail of the apple and this human being who's holding it. No one can find anything wrong with it. The man steps forward, sure that he will get the reward. While they are standing there, a bird swoops down and tries to peck the apple in his hand. At this stage, no one has any doubt that he'll win. In fact, it was so true to form, so true to life, that the bird actually thought that he'd get a bite out of this apple. But the king shakes his finger. I'm sorry, but your painting too has fallen short. Have you ever been eating an apple, a sandwich, a cucumber, anything, and a bird comes and tries to eat it out of your hand? Birds don't do that. They're afraid of the human being who holds that item of food. So while your apple may have fooled the bird, the human being actually must not have looked real. The bird must have known that the subject, the human subject, was not alive. What Joseph tells the baker is exactly the same thing. He would have loved to give him a positive interpretation, but clearly from the fact that the bird was eating out of the baskets on his head. The bird knew that the human in that frame was not alive at all. I think there's an added message here. We search for life and understanding what it is that makes us feel alive. For some people, it's amassing certain amounts of stuff. For other people, it might be the pursuit of honor or power. But at the very least, what is necessary to feel alive is movement. Because a fundamental difference between the two dreams is that whereas in the first one, he's squeezing grapes, he's serving Pharaoh. He's active. He's not a passive journey in this dreamscape built around him. Whereas the baker is just standing there, letting life flit in and out of the focus of his lens. This idea is very powerful. Everybody here will have met someone who lives life in a perhaps depressed or sad state. And the vicious cycle that wraps around is that the more upset they are at life, the less that they do. They crawl up in their bed in perhaps a fetal position, covering themselves, not wishing to engage with the world. But the feeling of life, the flowing of blood through our veins is dependent on action, on us stepping into the frame and deciding that we're going to play a part in dictating what our lives will feel like. The less we are masters of our own destiny, the less alive we feel. So life is about motion. It's about the choice to engage. And if you feel a little bit lackluster, get up, get out, do something. Make sure that that thing that you're doing comes from deep within, and it's not something that was dictated to you from another part of your story, from a parent, from a coworker, from a child, from a husband, from a wife. It doesn't make a difference. Find something that you want to do. Go out and achieve it. And the minute the person experiences in their life the choice to do an action and the carrying out of that action, they bring life back into the frame.
All right, that is it for today's Good Week Israel. I hope that we've helped you start your week with a smile. I'm Aaron Porras. Stay healthy. See you next week.